Well, good evening, sisters and brothers, and thank you for joining me once again as we reflect on night 2 of Spring Harvest at Home. Well, what a day it's been as we have explored what it means to have the unleashed presence of God at work in our lives. As we have reflected on the scriptures of Acts chapter 5 and the story of God at work through the apostles and the powerful miracles that were wrought at their hands. It must be deeply, deeply challenging for you, as it is for me, to ask, where are those miracles and those great acts of power today? And to cry out, God, do it again. But the other part of Acts chapter 5, of course, is the persecution that the early church faced because of what God was doing through them and in them. And perhaps that also is deeply challenging for us, because the reality is there is only one church and it is persecuted. But the early church, the church of the Bible, the church of the New Testament, didn't know what it was to function without the Spirit's power, without the Spirit's presence, and without the Spirit's guiding. They were utterly, utterly dependent on the reality that they were people of the presence. Wherever they went, God went. Whatever they did, God was with them. Wherever they were, God was. I think sometimes we can end up with theologies of presence that make us sound as if God might be somewhere else to where we are. But the promise of Scripture, of course, is that God is always with us, that we always carry His presence, that we carry His presence in the ordinary moments of our days and in the extraordinary moments of encounter when we see Him profoundly and powerfully at work. No one knew that more clearly than the Apostle Paul, and when he wrote to the church in Corinth, he wanted them to understand that he could achieve nothing on his own. He had nothing to give them of his own wisdom, of his own strength, or of his own understanding. In fact, in 1 Corinthians chapter 2, we read these words about his encounter with them. My speech and my proclamation were not with plausible words of wisdom, but with a demonstration of the Spirit and of power, so that your faith might rest not on human wisdom, but on the power of God. Paul understood that he could achieve nothing without God, that he carried the presence of God. He understood what Jesus had said to his disciples in the upper room, without me, you can do nothing. Brothers and sisters, we are people of the presence. We are utterly dependent on God's grace and God's presence. He is the life within us, the hope that holds us. We need Him. We may not always see Him. We may not always feel Him. We may not always encounter Him, but He is always there. And tonight, as you come to the end of another day of Spring Harvest at Home, I'm sure, like me, you go into seasons when you don't feel God, when you don't sense that He is there, when you wonder where He is and what He is doing. But the felt absence of God is actually a memory of the presence that you once enjoyed, isn't it? And you and I need Him as much with every breath as we do with every moment. It isn't that we need Him in the important moments and we don't need Him in the ordinary moments. We need Him in every day of our lives, at home, at school, in our witness, in our families, bringing up our kids, looking after our nieces and nephews, burying our loved ones, walking through this pandemic, dealing with the crisis and the uncertainty of it all, wondering when we will get to connect with each other. We need His presence, but we are also carriers of His presence. Wherever we go, God goes. Wherever we are, God is. That is such an important thing to hold on to and to remember. You see, sisters and brothers, without the power and the presence of God working in us and through us, we have nothing to offer the world. We're not simply being kind or good. We can't change a blade of grass, let alone a person's life. We've reflected today on being presence bearers, presence carriers, women and men who carry God's presence with us always, who have at our disposal the power of the Creator, who lives within us to achieve more than we could ask, imagine, or think. What an infusion of life and joy and hope it would be if we were to live as presence carriers and light bearers. The celebration of possibility that we would encounter all around us would be amazing. In the words of Leslie Newbigin, every local church is called to be an explosion of joy into its local community. So my prayer for you tonight, in isolation, in shielding, alone, as you reflect on all that you have learned today through Spring Harvest at Home, is that you will remember you are a presence carrier. You might feel as if you are in the dark now, but the light of Christ is with you. We might feel confused by the events around us, but God is with us. We might be anxious, but his peace remains. We are light carriers. We are presence bearers. And wherever we are, God is. May God use your life and mine to demonstrate to others tonight and in the days that lie ahead that his presence changes everything, whether that's in the ordinary or the extraordinary things that we do. Here's my night blessing that I'd like to share with you for tonight. May the life-giving presence of Christ flow through you to those around you. May you remember that you carry the presence and the power of God wherever you go. May the love and the hope of God be seen in the small and ordinary things you do, and in the unexpected and miraculous manifestations of his mercy. May you be a herald of hope. So, brothers and sisters, whatever you face tomorrow, whatever you are doing, may God's rich presence flow through you to the world around you, and may you remember his grace and his mercy. Share the night blessing, and I look forward to joining you again tomorrow for Spring Harvest at Home. Good night, God bless, and thank you so much for being with us.
The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine on you. The Lord bless you and keep you, and give you his peace. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine on you. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord turn his face toward you. The Lord bless you and keep you, and be gracious to you. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord turn his face toward you. And keep you. The Lord make his face to shine on you.